So we're welcoming here Jack Mulcahy, actor to the New York School of the Arts for another conversation. So I I hope you enjoy this conversation. We're gonna have Nadine Herman, our artistic director at the school, give an introduction for Jack.
Well, first of all, Jack, thank you for being here today and allowing us to interview you. I know many people out there know you, but in case they do not, I just want to give them a look at your career. So,
Thank you.
first of all, I want to begin by saying that Jack Mulcahy is an 11-time award-winning actor, writer, and producer. He has appeared in such films as Awakening, Cadillac, Porky, and of course, Cadillac Man, excuse me, Porky's, and of course, The Brothers McMullen, which was one of the most successful indie films ever produced, and in fact, did win the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival. Also, Jack is a producer and has produced off-Broadway shows. His TV appearances have included Law and Order, Sex and the City, and Blue Bloods. Jack was also named Vice President Chairman of the SAG Indie Film Committee and is on the New York Board of Directors SAG-AFTRA National Board. Jack is also a member of is also active in many charities like the Jackie Robinson Foundation, I'm sorry, I have to put my glasses back on, Carol Baldwin Breast Cancer Foundation, and the Mercy College Scholarship Fund. But the one thing I want to say when I look over Jack's career, the first thing that comes into my mind that this is someone who has devoted his life to acting, to film, and to various aspects of the acting profession. And I can just feel the love and dedication to your art, Jack. That being said, I'd like to ask you, when did you realize you wanted to become an actor? I know you started as a musician, but how did you get the acting bug at a young age?
Well, let's first of all, thank you, Patricio, for having me, and thank you, Nadine, for bringing this to my attention. I'm very happy to be here. Um, I began my interest in performing. Let's put it that way. By the time I was 5 or 6 years old, I realized that I could sing. People around me realized that I could sing. And then one day I went to the movie theater in the neighborhood here and sat through 3 sessions of West Side Story.
Oh my
And
God.
as you know, those were 2.5 hour, 2 45-minute film. It was a 2 hour and 45-minute film. And by the time I got home, my mother was kind of worried about me. These were the times when kids could actually go to the movies by themselves.
Right.
And by the time I got home, my mom was pretty upset with me. And I said, well, Mom, before you give me a spanking, watch this. Tonight won't be just any. Bouncing off the furniture, and then she sent me to my room and I'm still singing. And she walks in and she goes, do you think this is something you might want to do? And I looked her right in the eye and said, Mom, this is what I am going to do.
Wow.
At 6 years old. So
that's amazing. And did that take place at 8:17?
It did.
Wow.
Where I'm sitting right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I forgot to mention that you also have your own film company, West End Kid, which, by the way, what a great, great title. And, these are really trying times right now. And how are people actually directing and producing and navigating the film profession during this pandemic?
That is a great question. And being active in the union, SAG-AFTRA, we, as you can imagine, have had many, many meetings in terms of COVID protections and COVID compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And we just opened it up to a maximum of 25 on set at this point. Bigger productions have been able to fly in actors, quarantine for 14 days, and then, just go on with shooting. Tyler Perry is built an entire village in Atlanta.
Wow.
And so these are the links, but these are the higher budget projects that can afford to do that. As far as the indie films are going, I actually had my very first in-person audition in 9 months last Friday for a film.
Wow.
And everybody there was COVID compliant. Your temperatures were taken. We had the face shields. the entire thing, and we didn't like remove them until we were on stage, socially distanced, and just had at it. And it was just such a wonderful feeling to be able to act again, live
Yeah,
in front of a director. So yeah, it's been tough,
yeah,
and budgets are going to go up, but safety first. So
right, right.
Now, Jack, I always wanted to ask an actor like you with this extraordinary career. Sometimes we don't feel like acting a certain way, but we have to, right?
uh,
For an interview, but we had, say, a fight with a family member or something, and we don't feel like stepping up to that character. What
mhm.
kind of advice from your perspective, from an actor's perspective, would you give a person like me when we have to turn into a character?
That's an amazingly wonderful and insightful question. It's all about focus. We are paid, a lot of people have the misnomer that we are paid liars, but we are actually paid to tell the truth. And portraying the truth, the easiest way that you can get into character is by listening. And if you listen and you're focused on your partner, then you are not so self-absorbed. You don't really care, and the words will come naturally. It's hard when you have so many extraneous factors, factoring into your life that can sometimes put you off your game, and that can happen, and it shows on camera. But it's all about focus. It's all about listening. It's all about paying attention to somebody else aside from yourself.
The listening thing is one of the most important factors as a musician. I mean, time and time again, when you are playing in an orchestra or if you're singing in an ensemble, you always have to listen to the people and to the sound around the room. If you don't listen, whether you're a singer or an instrumentalist or an actor, that's it, it's over, it's lost, totally
Yes.
lost.
And as my mom
But
used to say to me, I would say to my mom, "I hear you, mom," and she goes, "Yeah, you hear me, but you're not listening." There's a
there you
big difference.
That's a major league difference. So, as an actor, and looking at great actors through the decades, who, what actor influenced your style? Who do you look up to?
My mom was, she loved films, and she would stay up late and do, her chores and her ironing after she put us kids to bed. But there'd be times where she would like wake me up seeing, that there was something on the Late Show, which is what they would call it back then.
Mhm.
And there was a film called Sunset Boulevard,
The best.
one of the best films ever, black and white, Billy Wilder, William Holden, and Norman, just amazing. And I sat through that with my mom, and she goes, "Now that's acting right there."
Wow.
And so William Holden was one of my first, and then in that genre, Cary Grant and Gary Cooper, and so these were like real movie stars at that point. And then you moved into the Brandos, and then you
Yes.
moved into the Pacinos,
Hmm.
and then you moved, because acting does shift. However, acting doesn't really change. If you're telling the truth, then
Hmm.
it's up to the individual actor to make those choices to make every performance believable. And even if you're playing somebody that you can't stand, I have had roles where I played like less than desirable characters, and you have to find something about that character that you like in order to make it organic. Because
Hmm.
if you don't, it's just going to fall flat. It's just going to be a flat line. You have to have some sense of who this character is, see it from his vantage point, because a lot of these bad characters think that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And so, that keeps giving the performance itself life and makes you more interesting.
And
Hmm.
how do you step into the character? Do you do visualization, for example?
Um, you do research. I mean, a lot of the characters that I've played, I have observed, throughout my lifetime. I have lived quite a long time right now. And if you don't observe, then you're not really doing your job as an actor. I had one specific note from an acting teacher once who said, "You don't feel inspired? Here's $1.50. Go on the subway, observe people. Just try and figure out what their life has been like that particular day, what they do for a living, what they have in their pockets. Get down to the real specifics of it all, and then try and just like incorporate that into what you do." There's a great saying, "What if I were, what might I do?" It's
Hmm.
very Stanislavski, right? And then you have the Meisner method of sense
Yeah.
memory and all that kind of stuff. And Meisner, like always, goes, to hell with the words. The words don't really count. Well, that's true to a certain degree, but you still have to say the words. And his intention there is about being organic in every move that you make. So you don't have any false notes in terms of your performance and in terms of how you relate to the other characters. F. Murray Abraham, when he accepted his Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for Amadeus, he said the most profound thing to me, and I've actually said it during ceremonies where I've actually won a Best Actor award. He said, "My performance is in my partner."
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of your performances, for you, what do you feel are maybe there? I'm sure there were the one outstanding moments in your acting career that you really cherish.
Well, you never forget your first one, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I was flown down to Miami in the early 80s to shoot a tiny little teenage sex comedy called Porky's, right?
Yes. Uh huh.
I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. The people at 20th Century Fox saw me in the rushes in the dailies and said, "Who is this kid?" The director, Bob Clark, said, "Well, we really like him." They said, "Write him into the script." And I was written in the script. I got my Screen Actors Guild card right on the spot. And the film wound up making $200 million in
Wow.
1982.
Hmm.
So the
Wow.
residual checks were like massive. And I'm thinking, hey, maybe I could do this, right? And then we shot the sequel, and that only made $90 million. And then, from there on, I've had like the road back and forth to my music. And then Brothers McMullen happened. And I was
Yeah.
close to 40 years old when we started shooting that thing.
Wow.
Tiny independent feature, $15,000 budget. It started as a drunken conversation over beer and darts with Eddie Burns. We're talking about these three Irish American brothers and their commitment to marriage and fidelity and all this kind of stuff. And before you know it, we are shooting this thing, and it took 8 months on weekends to shoot this. And then I didn't hear from Eddie for a long, long time
Hmm.
until about 7, 8 months later. Film was edited, and he got it into Sundance, and that's when I knew things would change
Hmm.
remarkably.
Remarkably, yes.
So Jack McMullen is probably one of my favorite characters that I've played.
Hmm.
I've played
Yes.
great ones since,
Hmm.
and I've done an awful lot of indie shorts right now that really expressive and show my range because I don't like to be pinned down. I don't like to be typecast. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Now, you started your career by getting noticed. Um, what kind of advice? Or the question is, what does it take to become an actor? If, say, 15-year-old, 25, and a 40-year-old person wants to become an
Hmm.
actor.
Well, there are three major components to this thing. There's look. You have to have a look,
Yes.
talent,
Hmm.
and perseverance, right? And also charisma. And these aren't things that like you can learn. You either have it or you don't. However, there's also the other underlying quality, and it's a secret ingredient, and that is perseverance.
Hmm.
Persistence is key. Jerry Seinfeld always told the story about somebody asking him what his path to success was. And he goes, "Well, I got on this really, really long line. And at the end of the line was a door that said success. And I stand there patiently, patiently. And the guy in front of me got off the line. He goes, to hell with this. And I just moved up one." So it's kind of like a law of attrition. When you're 15 years old, I would suggest that you take as many classes as you possibly can.
Hmm.
By the time you're 25, I hope you have several um, indies under your belt or stage shows or failures because you learn more from failure than you do success.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, the success of Porky's kind of threw me for a little bit because I thought it was all going to be this easy.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I started hitting that rough road that I had to really become circumspect and start to, like, really dig into what it took to be an actor. And I would say it
Oh,
would be the perseverance and the persistence,
for sure. In any of the artistic fields, I mean, you have to really, you
without
just
a doubt.
have to stick to it. But well, this is the East Coast West Coast dilemma.
Hmm.
A young actor today, where do you advise them to go? East Coast, West Coast for film?
Knowing what I know, because I am on the TV and theatrical contract negotiating committee,
Hmm.
I do know for a fact that for years it was a little imbalanced. Los Angeles had the predominance of all that kind of work. Here in New York, we had more broadcasting, we had more radio. And so when the two unions merged, SAG and AFTRA, that's when things started to change. And then with the New York tax incentives, right,
Yeah.
a lot of television shows moved here. I mean, you can't get in Broadway stages because they're just completely packed, one show after the other, the Marvel series. But then again, the entire script has flipped with streaming media, right? We don't have 26 episode seasons anymore for network television, very few. We usually have 8, 9, 10, 12 episodes, and that's a season, and you're done. So there is, I would say the preponderance of work is still in Los Angeles, but New York is moving very, very close to it. And New York does have a reputation of making sure that your actors are really good before
Mhm.
you start to venture back out to Los Angeles. I mean, in Los Angeles, it's more about the look, right, than anything
Yes,
else.
definitely about the look.
Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Uh,
and the other thing, as far as filming, and this has to do for my colleague, Dr. Molina, who is a pianist and composer, and that's about the scoring of films. Are you, for your, and Patricio is, I'm sure he would never say this, but he's a fabulous composer. And I, and I hope to interview Ennio Morricone's son actually lives in
Ah,
the neighborhood. So I'm trying to get a hold of him to interview him. But are they actually hiring film composers right now, given the financial status of everything? As far as you going, are you like who is doing like the work on that for you right now? Are people hiring film scorers?
well, that would be under the guise of the producers themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Before COVID hit, I had 3 films lined up that I was going to be producing. I have roles in all 3 of them, and they're basically sports oriented. However, this is called Posse Films. That's one of the companies that I'm working for now,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to. It's a very, very smart business model. They want to open up offices in Nashville so
Uh-huh.
that we can get the company going just for soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a well of musicians that I could tap into. Many of them who are in Nashville, including Jewel. Jewel's in Alaska, but she records out of Nashville quite a bit. And Zach Brown and Boo Ray and all these other guys. And that's how you really start to build a team, a team of musicians. And all these films that I'm going to be producing once the money's in place and once COVID is like a thing of the past, I will be seeking out people who do this kind of stuff and see and mix and match, because that's one of the talents that I do have as a producer, is being able to mix and match people. I can put money with scripts, and I can put all the other ingredients together, and the music is so incredibly important for the pacing and the
Oh,
mood of a film. It's just, it makes or breaks a film.
oh, when you think about Bernard Herrmann and the
Yes.
films, I mean, but I just wanted to, when you were talking about going to the movies as a kid and we
Mhm.
grew up in the same era, and I'm sure you were very much like me. While a lot of my friends were going to see Disney,
Mhm.
I was going to see West Side Story, My Fair Lady, Sound of Music, and Alfred Hitchcock. I remember
Yes.
grandparents taking me to see North by Northwest, and to this day, those images are always in my head. What a great, great film. And of course, Bernard Herrmann, what a great film scorer. One of
Yes.
the,
I mean, in our neighborhood, we also had a little art theater on 95th Street called the Thalia,
oh
right?
my, yes.
And so by the time I was, and so the symphony and the Thalia were connected. And as as an adventurous youth, I found out that I could sneak into that tiny little art theater because it seemed like it was always empty. And I would
Mhm.
sit through films that I couldn't understand, Belle Epoque and Rafifi and The Bicycle Thief, but I loved them. They were all pretty much in black and white. And I was
Yes.
able to like read subtitles, and it was just like so incredibly fascinating to me.
Hmm.
And then to see those films like 25, 30 years later as an adult, I was like going, oh my God, these memories are just flooding back. So I wasn't like very much into the animated features like of the
Right.
Disney genre.
So,
I was more into like the substance of
same
real
here.
acting and
Mhm.
storytelling
Yes.
narratives.
So we're towards the end of the interview. So we would like to know what projects are you working on right now?
Well, the three that I was mentioning, they're all sports biopics, and one is about a golfer who didn't realize his own potential until after his father passed away.
Hmm.
The golfer's name was Payne Stewart. He won the U.S. Open finally about a week after his dad died, and
Oh.
then he was tragically killed in a plane crash.
Ugh.
The next one up is going to be about the god of NASCAR, Bobby Allison. And before COVID hit, we actually had Gerard Butler on the hook to
Oh
play
wow.
him. Matt
Hmm.
McConaughey is behind it. So I'll be doing that as well. In addition to, well, I did four really, really good short films in 2019. All of them are on the festival circuit right now.
Wow.
And all these festivals are like virtual, and it's kind of a bummer because you can't meet and greet other filmmakers and other actors, and you can't
I
really
know.
interconnect and interact because that's usually where you make strong connections and you get work, and
Yes.
work begets work, right?
Yes.
So I don't know what the film festival situation is going to be like for 2021 because nobody's really filming. I mean, it's kind of like the conundrum of the actor right now.
Mhm.
In the meantime, I'm coaching an awful lot of actors online, which has been fun. And it helps me keep my craft. It helps me remember what it is that I'm supposed to do
Exactly.
when I'm actually on set. So there's a couple of other films that are coming out in film festival form, but until then, we're all in a holding pattern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for doing this for us for the Newark School of the Arts.
Thank you.
What I'm hoping is that maybe next year, this time, we'll see, you can come out to the school
I would
and
love that.
have a class for us and speak to our students. It would be so great.
I would love that. Thank you.
And, I'll see you in the elevator.
Sure you will.
Amazing neighbors. Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nadine.
Patrizio. Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much, guys. Good luck.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.